Okay, so I've written this program that will fill the console with yellow smiley faces. This is 5,000 yellow smiley faces. And we can do this by just doing a cout statement to print one smiley face, here it is back here, and then looping it, as opposed to writing 5,000 cout statements to print each individual smiley face. So loops are a big deal in programming. They allow you to repeat segments of code. And there are different styles of loops. In this video, we'll talk about the for loop. Okay, and before we look at the for loop, I want to just kind of lay out what I call the essentials of counter-controlled repetition. This is the type of repetition we're doing. Most of the loops we do will be counter-controlled. Then we'll look at another style later, but basically, you start with a counter variable that has an initial value, okay, just like an integer variable to keep count of how many times the loop is going. And then there's going to be a condition or a relational expression to test whether or not the loop should keep going or eventually the loop is going to stop. And also we have to increment our counter variable as well. So let's take a look at the for loop. We have, I like the for loop. It's a really good one to start with because all of the essentials that I just talked about are part of what we call the loop header. The loop header is like the top line of the loop. So this is the loop header that I've highlighted. And we have all of our essentials. Essential number one is a counter variable, which is given an initial value. So I'm calling my variable counter. It doesn't have to be that. But for starters, I'll just use counter as my variable name. Okay, so we're starting it at 1. And then the second essential is a relational expression to determine whether or not the loop should keep going. And our relational expression, I said I wanted 5,000 smiley faces to fill the console. So the relational expression is keep going while counter is less than or equal to 5,000. Okay? And then finally, the third essential is the increment. Counter has got to change. Eventually, it has got to get up to 5,000 or 5,001, actually, so that the loop stops. Otherwise, the loop is just going to keep going and going and going forever. So we need that increment expression as well. And just a reminder, the increment operator in C++ is the plus, and that will add 1 to any variable that you attach it to, the increment operator. Very commonly used in looping. Okay, and then in the curly braces here, this is the body of the loop, and in here you put the code that's supposed to be repeated. Now, the curly braces are redundant in this case because if you only have one line that you're executing, you don't have to put the curly braces. I just put them in because it doesn't harm anything if you put them and you don't need them. But it is a big deal if you need them and you forget them. So maybe while you're learning, if you want to just get in the habit of just always adding the curly braces regardless and just putting the code in the loop body, even if it's just one line, that would be fine. Okay, so there you have it, your first loop.